doing my part. I'm doing my part.
Oh my god, did that work on the first try? Is this reality? Did that actually just happen? I think it did. Hi everyone. First try. I've been sitting here for a little while ready, which is why I'm here before even the chat is here. Oh my gosh, look at me. Actually on time, sort of, maybe? Yeah, I think so. We can call it. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day, whatever you've got up to. Maybe you're only just getting up now. That is very exciting. Oh my gosh, I just realized I hadn't posted on the socials. So for those who are here, you get to see the selfie cam. Oh god, wait, that's not. Cute, man. Cute. So I try to always do like an Instagram story. But it's always awkward taking the selfie.
Hi, Clem's Clean Wave.
Hi, Dysantheus. How you going? Thank you so much for the 32 months. That is very, very impressive. I appreciate all the ongoing support. It's so lovely to have you here. Ah, by Second Sleep. I don't know this one. I'll have to look it up. No, I must post first. Wait, what's a new thing? What's new? What did I do? What did I do differently? I don't know. I'm lost. Ah, stressing out already. Hey, awesome. Hi, Yasmin. How you going? More bow. And then we do link twitch.tv. But I suppose some of you guys are here from the YouTubes. How very exciting. And then we say live now. And there we go. There's the selfie for those who are curious and not on Instagram. It all come together. Now I can lock and pop that away. New today, it's Mod Appreciation Day. Oh, well, where? What do I see? Where's the mod appreciation? Apparently, I don't appreciate the mods because I don't see anything that's new. Although my Twitch has been really messed up recently and I don't know how to fix it. I just kind of ignore it and hope that no one realizes that I am not chatting in this. Oh, there we go. I'm celebrating my 18-month mod anniversary. I see it now. Okay, that took a while. It just didn't come up here, so I had to look for it elsewhere. That makes more sense. Okay, now I can see the new things. It made me have to poop. You're welcome. Or maybe you're not. Anyway, I hope that it's a you're welcome because, you know, sometimes you just need a little bit of extra help. Hi, Clutch Kid. I feel, oh, what you doing? WYD. No, if anything, I feel like that is an older acronym. Do the kids today still use WYD? I feel like that's something from my youth. Anyway, I am sitting here in a chair in an attic. It's not super hot today, so that's awesome. I will be playing some Red Dead Redemption 2, but in the meantime, I'm just yapping. Hi, Victoria. Hope you're well. Not all mods have it. It's a new streak for mods for how long they mod a channel for. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Shark. I hope you're having a good start to your weekend. Thanks, Clutch Kid. That's really appreciated. Hope you have had a good day. I did. I don't have much to report. I had a coffee at the coffee shop, and I had some nice crisp apple. I've just had a very relaxing morning. So I don't have any wild stories or adventures to share. It's just a nice, lazy Saturday morning. That's really about it. I use what do you mean? Yeah, I feel like what do you mean is more common, but what you doing, I feel like that's an older one. Good morning, Sharper. Fancy seeing you here. Just heading to bed, of course, Dolta. I'm sorry to hear that you're only just heading to bed now. I feel like that's very, very long night for you, but nonetheless. Thank you, Klaus. Much appreciated. Thank you. That's very kind. Welcome, welcome. Ah, cheers. Yeah. So my artist did the Snorlax emotes for the followers, and then we have some fruity emotes for the subscribing subscribers. There we go. So I really like them. I have to reach out to my artist to make some more. Hello, Klaus. Hello. Hi, Sahid. I'm getting confused about slang. Today's use. Yeah, exactly. She's a chomped unk on God for real, no cap. But the thing is, sometimes the jargon changes so quickly that I don't even know if we're behind. Like, do people actually still say on God for real, no cap? I feel like that was a thing a couple years ago. I'm not so sure they still use it. Whereas the chopped and unk and chud and all these kinds of things I feel like is more now, but I feel like they've moved on from on God. For real, no cap. Just let me have this. I'm sorry. You know what? That is on me. I do apologize. I just woke up. Well, good morning to you. Ah, enjoy the wedding, Dalta. Oh, you'll have to tell us all about it later. Love from India. Thank you so much. I don't know what this one's meant to say, George Washington, but hello. So the on God for real, yeah. I feel like that was a meme a while ago, or maybe it's just a meme for the millennials where they go, "Wow, look at all this crazy stuff that the youth say," and then they hold on to that longer than the youths do. I potentially, I feel like I haven't. I hadn't thought about that. I guess there's a lot of days to go through the overalls. I definitely doubled up several of them. The burgundy ones I actually have to repair. So that would make sense why I haven't worn them. Yeah, I mean we could do a montage. Just a little photo per day to see all of the outfits of May. What's your thoughts on the sacking of Brad Scott? I don't know who Brad Scott is, so no thoughts whatsoever. But that has reminded me that I want to look up what second sleep is, because that's something Buzzing Fly had mentioned. Or biphasic sleep. It refers to an ancient human sleep cycle where people slept in two distinct phases, separated by a few hours of quiet wakefulness. Rather than a single 8-hour block, it was a common natural practice before the Industrial Revolution and artificial lighting. So this is like second breakfast. So first sleep will be around after dusk for about 3 to 4 hours. And then people will be awake for 1 to 2 hours, and then they have second sleep. Yeah. So this is just the AI summary. Historians trace the decline of segmented sleep to the Industrial Revolution as artificial lighting, like gas and electric lights, became widely accessible, evening activities extended, and people shifted to an expectation of sleeping through the night in one continuous block. I don't see why that would change our sleeping, though. Because why wouldn't we just sleep through the night? I don't really see how those correlate. I'm going to have to look more into this. The review from The Guardian. I'm well, Night Warrior. How are you? Yes, yeah, I should have got up, but didn't. I can understand that, but still, I'm just fascinated by this concept in general. Are you Christian? I grew up Christian, so I went to Christian schools, but these days, not so much. Exactly, Thief Stalker. That's why it's not big enough. There's too many people, you know? The second sleep. Yeah, I've just never heard. I have heard of I guess segmented sleep cycles, but I thought that that was more of a modern concept, because I would have assumed that when we didn't have artificial lighting, that you would just sleep in the dark. You would, as soon as it goes dark, you can't do anything because you don't have artificial lighting. Maybe a candle, I suppose, but you just go to sleep. So I would have assumed that one would have stayed sleeping the entire time. So I think the concept that I'm struggling with is why people would have woken up in the night. Is that kind of like a alertness, a checking on their surroundings, making sure that there's no big cats around or bears to eat you? That's what is making me struggle with the idea that we wouldn't have just slept through the night in the past. I'm living in England, but I'm not from England. I'm from New Zealand, Oz kid, but I did live in Melbourne for 10 years. Thank you, Georgie. That's very kind. Sleeping through the day or the night as long as you get your rest. Exactly. And so how that looks different for a lot of people. Thanks, Night Warrior. I like to think of it in terms of it's 3 p.m., I'm tired and bored, I'm having a nap, and that just becomes a 4-hour thing, and then you wake up, you have some dinner maybe, and then you go to sleep again. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, Toke. Is it so that they are just checking on their surroundings, making sure that everything is still okay? Tend the fire, maybe? Okay, yeah, make sure that they're warm. I work as a location manager for feature films and TV series shot in Toronto. Hell yeah. Just finished The Boys Season 5. The season finale is outstanding. Well, I know there's been a lot of mixed reviews on the finale, but I'm glad that you are proud of it. To hunt? I don't think hunting for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night. I'm not so convinced about that. I think it's more that they wouldn't be hunted. Oh, we're not talking about modern sleeping at Night Warrior. We're talking about more ancient. Because everyone's like, you get your 8 hours of sleep or whatever. So why was segmented sleep more of a thing before artificial lighting? Speaking of which, we do match with the one strap look. Thank you. Yeah, I did have the 2 straps on. I was like, you know what? We're gonna break it up a little bit. Only 6 hours. I mean, that gives you more time in the day, which is nice. Hunters and gatherers in the past, both men and women, went out to go get food. I'm sure that's meant to say. Women would actually go out and gather food. Yes, but we're talking about in the middle of the night, so you might have missed that, Hookster. So it's basically called second sleep or polyphasic sleep or segmented sleep. And so basically where you sleep for a bit and then you're awake for a couple hours and then you have your second sleep. And so I heard of this concept years ago, but like I said, I thought this was more of a modern thing so that you can sleep less. And I would have almost assumed that artificial lighting would have made it more possible because you'd sleep and then you'd wake up and you'd have light. Although I guess the artificial light is acting as the sun, so your brain fully wakes up rather than sleeping for the second time. Hi, Bo! If you sleep for 8 hours, but there's 12 hours dark, you'll awake at some point when it's dark. Okay, you do have a point there. I agree with your logic. I'm supposed to be studying, but it's too hot. Oh, you poor thing. We're just starting to have the cool change finally hit over here, so I'm not too fussed. It's like the cool change, but still with the shoulders out, It's perfect weather. I aim for 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but then I just can't sleep. And my watch says I slept only 3 hours, you poor thing. Yeah, not being able to sleep it affects everything, But so I think fire is the logic as well, Hookstagram. I think that was a good point. Tending to the fire. So during the day, it would be a different story. I suppose technically hunters could have looked at some nocturnal animals as well, but my understanding would be that we are not nocturnal. So sleeping for 3 to 4 hours and then waking to 1 to 2 hours. I don't think you would go and hunt in that 1 to 2 hours before falling asleep again, especially because the body would not be super awake anyhow. 28 degrees Celsius. Yeah, no wonder you're not studying. Yeah, I do not blame you for that one. I haven't seen the pictures of you on the horse. Sorry, President. I am not familiar of the ones. I've seen you on a bear, but not on a horse. Are seeing the 90s for highs? Yeah, so that would be very hot. I know that with the conversion that's rough, man. 82. I feel like 28. Yeah, maybe it's 30s that get closer to the 90s. So in that case, sharp is well into the 30s Celsius. Anyhow, so let me see what this says. Do you guys want to read along while we're kind of having a little bit of a slow start to the stream? Well, today monophasic sleep is the norm, so sleeping all through like in one chuck. one chunk. Historical analysis suggests that polyphasic nighttime sleep, and this is the thing, it's a nighttime in particular, was common practice across societies before industrialization. Scientific experiments and observational studies have supported a theory of biphasic sleep in humans. Okay, so this doesn't really mean much in this case. Polyphasic sleep is common in many animals and is believed to be the ancestral sleep state for mammals. Okay, so as in what we used to do. Although simians are monophasic, so not dissimilar to us. Or the monkeys. A common practice of biphasic sleep is a nap, a short period of daytime sleep in addition to nighttime sleep. An example of involuntary polyphasic sleep is the circadian rhythm disorder, irregular sleep-wake syndrome, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is used by an online community that experiments with alternate sleeping schedules in an attempt to increase productivity. So this is what this is what I heard. My highlighting is clearly not doing well. This here is what I heard about, I want to say 2 decades ago, of looking at alternatives to just sleeping for 6 to 10 hours in the night. So breaking it down to maybe 2-3 hour cycles or similar, so that you're awake for more of the 24-hour cycle and therefore can do more with your day. That's what I've heard. But I guess the reason I haven't heard about it since is because it hasn't been adopted. They weren't successful with their testing. Very close cover. I am from New Zealand, but I did live in Australia for a while. Thank you, Thomas. Much appreciated. Around dusk and dawn is when most animals are more active, whether nocturnal or not. That's true. That's very true. So they would be the best times to hunt. Ooh, but I don't think that would be relevant for the polyphasic, because it seems like it is during nighttime. But there's the second sleep. One biphasic sleep pattern is sometimes described as segmented sleep, involving sleeping in 2 phases. Makes sense, in segments, separated by an hour of wakefulness. And so this is what I don't understand, is why would we have needed to be awake? And why would the industrial era and artificial lighting no longer allow for this? It was common to sleep early, wake around midnight, and return to bed later. Along with another nap, it has been argued that this is the natural pattern of human sleep in long winter nights. That could potentially prove the tending to the fire, if they're talking about winter nights in particular. A case has been made that maintaining such a sleep pattern may be important in regulating stress. No wonder we're all so stressed. We're not sleeping properly. We're not sleeping naturally. Or at all for some of you. I'd love to be able to sleep like a cat does on my back in the sunbeam for 18 hours a day. Ah, that would be the life, would it not? Hi, Steven. Hey, you're a Kiwi as well. Let's go. I believe Einstein was very pro-polyphasic. Well, maybe they also believed it was the natural pattern. I don't think I have any sleeping issues, just I used to be a very active person. My physical activity was taking a back seat now with finals and some other issues in life. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Thief Stalker. But hopefully once the finals are done, that you can, again, be a little less stressed. Because a lot of people, when they struggle with sleep, it can be stress related as well. So maybe if you're saying that the finals and other issues, that it would come as no surprise if you're struggling with sleep. Hunt at dusk, then come back with the produce, have a few hours sleep, then wake before dawn and hunt again, sleep in the afternoon heat. But this one is saying sleep at midnight. And also we must remember that artificial lighting, how about we look that one up? Artificial lighting. So when was the light bulb? What is artificial lighting year? Because that was only, was that only 100 years ago? Yay, Goku. Nools! Hi, Shinefox! Let us come together. It's good to see you. We're talking about second sleep today. It's something that I'm less familiar with, but that's why we're learning about it. We had a bit of a quiet start to the stream, so I figured why not, while I have an active mind, we start learning something. Yes, I think so as well, Buzzingfly. I think that it's about that longer darkness, and so your body is trying to wake up, realizing you can't do anything, so you just go back to sleep. There's no way it could have an alert, productive hour, then go right back to sleep. Exactly, and so that's why I think you're onto something about the longer dark nights. Whereas when it is lighter, people or humans may have just stayed awake, or it's like similar to what I did this morning, where I woke up at about 7 a.m. I want to say. To the sun, and I'm like, but wouldn't it be nice to just sleep a little bit longer? And maybe that's a form of biphasic or polyphasic sleeping. Maybe I've been doing this my whole life, and and I've been forced to try and believe I should be getting up the first time I wake up when it's very natural to go back to sleep. Hi, Rob. Good to have you back here. Kiwis are so underrated, as in the kiwi fruit. I just got some the other day, and they're fantastic. Unless you're telling me that you went out and bought a whole bunch of kiwi birds or New Zealanders. Not like a nap. Hi, Northstar. That's basically what we're learning. For those who are just coming in, biphasic, segmented, or polyphasic sleep, or second sleep, is basically where one sleeps for a few hours, wakes up for 1 to 2 hours, and then goes back to sleep. And we're trying to understand where that comes from. So it's not like a nap. A nap is different again. Hi, Kush. Big fan of naps. Yeah, they do refresh you, but that's a separate thing altogether. Don't hit REM and you're good. But I think that's the point, right? Is the 3 to 4 hours you would hit REM, and then you wake up and then you go back to sleep. I think if you don't hit REM, that's where you get sleep. That's where you get not sleep issues, but awake issues. It's in the morning for you. Well, good morning to you. Gas you can light locally. Electric needs long ways. Oh, yes. So I guess that's the other thing is instead of looking up when the light bulb was, when did the light bulb get invented? 1879. I thought it was the 1900s, but well, that one is at least Thomas Edison's one. So, you can make your own decision on whether it was earlier. So let's say late 1800s is when the light bulb was there, but then there was, like you say, the gas lamps and all that. So are those included in artificial lighting? When did let's say gas lamp perhaps? So light bulb was late 1800s, gas lamp was late 1700s. And so my point in this is that polyphasic sleep was saying that got phased out with the industrial era and artificial lighting. So people would have still been having some sort of polyphasic sleep pattern in 1700s and earlier, i.e., well and truly past the hunter-gatherer phase. Because we were talking, I'll let you guys know a little bit of my thinking. I really enjoy theorizing and then proving right or wrong, and adding to that, because I feel like it just makes people a bit more engaged and using their noggin rather than just AI, tell me answer. It's okay, let's try and figure this out, and then we can be wrong. And I think that's a very healthy way of learning as well. So that's kind of why I put theories out there before actually just getting the answer. I find it more fun, I suppose, as well, of seeing where we get it and where we don't get it. So we were talking a lot about the hunter-gatherer pattern, which still makes sense because we haven't really evolved that much in the last 10,000 years or whatever. And so that's where the natural human sleep pattern could have led over until the more modern age. However, if we also remember that this existed when we weren't needing to hunt, that can potentially disprove some of the theories we were throwing out there. Hi, Bloka. Good to see you. Dan, welcome on in. Look into Einstein's nap technique. Okay, Einstein nap technique. I'll put that there in the tab. If it people that would be wild, very bold of me. Yeah, getting all the Kiwis. When you go back to sleep, though, don't you feel sluggish? I hate that second sleep once I'm up. But, oh, well, I guess that's because we now have a monophasic sleep pattern and it's more normal. But I feel like I feel quite sluggish when I wake up at first, and then like today I had a little bit of an extra nap and then I was much more refreshed. So everyone's different, suppose. Uh Used gas lanterns and wicks before they used gas lanterns and wicks before globes. Yes, yeah. So that's why I wanted to make sure to look at that one too. I've done that where I wake up, turn the alarm off, and then sleep for a couple more hours. But the thing is that an alarm, that's a very unnatural way of waking up. So I think that sleeping for more hours after the alarm makes a lot of sense because your body is like, no, this was not when we should have woken up. And a lot of people don't have the ability to test a theory, but if you weren't forced to wake up for your job, for example, what would your natural sleep look like? I think the problem is we often affect our sleep by staying up later, but it can be curious. Thank you for the compliment on my smile, Marwoof. Conjecture, then evidence to prove or disprove is fun, and I learn better that way as well, for sure. In the farming phase, farmers would get up at dawn, work during the morning, and rest in the afternoon. But that also makes sense because they don't want to work in the afternoon heat, right? Can you imagine life expectancy was from beginning time to 1800s was like 35-ish, and from 1900s to it's like 79. So a lot of people feel like that means that humans died very early. So it's a common misconception. Life expectancy is taking into account a lot of infant mortality. So, for example, a lot of babies would unfortunately pass, a lot of kids would pass, and yes, some people in their 20s would die from diseases. But that's what brings the life expectancy down, rather than because we didn't live to 60 or 70. And you can see that there are a lot of stories of the old hag or whatever. This is in very ancient texts of older individuals. But it's just that because there was a lot of unfortunate deaths of younger people, not necessarily because they weren't able to age, it's that they didn't have the ability to cure the diseases or even just eradicate the diseases that we have now. And that's what can help us now have more people reach the higher ages rather than the people who were surviving not reach those higher ages. Does that make sense? I feel like I wasn't very eloquent in that, but hopefully you guys were able to figure out what I was saying. Anyway, it's just, yes, we do. Don't get me wrong. Yes, we do live longer as well, but the life expectancy is more about how many people are living longer, because the young youth not dying hasn't brought that age down. And you can see that even if you compare the mortality rates and life expectancies in a modern context as well, where places with worse healthcare often will have lower life expectancy, and a lot of that's to do with infants, for example, not being able to survive. Okay, Shinebox said, I've started playing morning music gigs. I think leaning into everyone having different natural rhythms, circadian isn't the basic normal. Yeah, for sure. I think that you're definitely onto something there, and learning into that or figuring something new out. Why not? Why not make it your niche, you know? I work shifts all over the place, and anecdotally, polyphasic sleep sucks, and 8 to 9 hours solid is goated. Hell yes. And again, I think that just shows understanding your rhythm is so important, right? When was gas lamping invented? Hilarious. I'm a bit cautious with this as I have a very specific take on life and ideology myself that quite closely related to the hunter and gatherer thing. Oh, you're welcome to share, Thief Stalker. Yeah, the Kiwis are up late for sure. I can wake up when I need to. No alarm. It's kind of weird. Oh, I envy that so much. Funnily enough, if I wake up to an alarm, go back to sleep, I probably sleep an extra 3 to 4 hours naturally. But if I don't set an alarm, I'll get roughly an hour later than the alarm. So with the alarm, like say your alarm is set for 7 a.m. And then you'd probably sleep to 10. But without the alarm, you'd sleep to 8. Is that kind of what you're explaining, Thief? I worry about it before falling asleep. I have to be up to 6 a.m. Yeah, and then your anxiety kicks in because you're like, I should be asleep now. And then your brain's like, anxious about being asleep, so then you don't fall asleep. Hi, CDG. How much of advance has come to that? Gotcha. One of the major things that got infant mortality rates down was using antiseptic conditions in medical operating rooms. So Joseph Lister had people actually wash their hands when going between the dead and the newly born, and that helped a lot. Wash your hands, people! What we have learned from that, wash your hands. Thank you, Shark, for that information. That is very, very crazy to think that people just didn't wash their hands. But I also suppose that they didn't have the soap that we have today. My mom's into genealogy and I proofread her family story. So much cholera. Aww. But that's fascinating. I know not many people really get into that. So I'm sure it's been interesting for yourself as well. Hi, Orlando. I'm distracted by those guns. Thank you. I mean, the people in the vertical can't see them. But yeah, we got the shoulders out today. Young people are going to the agricultural sector more than the industrial sector. Is this because of low wages? I have very little information on that. I couldn't tell you anything about that. Maybe we can look into it another time. We live longer because of everything we've learned has contributed. Yeah, and as Buzzing Fly said, I think a lot of that is just to do with safe practices and cleanliness. We live longer. Yes, I am a natural redhead indeed. Hi, Pepperoni. How you going? Where are the mods? I am the moderator now. Can you imagine we kind of just learned washing hands was good? Isn't that crazy? I feel like there were a lot of interesting practices of trying to do cleanliness. Funnily enough, on my algorithm, literally this morning, I learned about Black River. And so there's a lot of rivers all around the world that have this Black River. And so it's like in the Amazon and Florida, there are plenty of them. And so imagine if you're looking at a river and it looks black. If you jump in it, it almost looks like this orange tint is on you. So to me, that looks like Swamp River and super, super unclean and something wrong with it. But according to this one Instagram reel, so grain of salt, I'm not going to go super into it because I didn't check their sources or anything, but apparently it was a lot of the stuff that's in the river makes it surprisingly some of the cleaner rivers in the world, and that people used to drink from that because rather than drink from other rivers because they'd get less sick, and so they wouldn't really know why there were antibacterial properties. They just knew that they wouldn't get sick from this river. And so I guess over time, that's what happens, right? Is you realize, hey, something keeps on happening, like getting sick or death. And when I do this, that doesn't happen. And then just over time that gets discovered. And it's like, okay, how about we replicate that with creating antiseptic materials and soap, etc. Anyways, I found it helps if you actually don't try to sleep, just try to rest. That's nice. Even if you can't sleep, it's still better to rest than be on your phone. Yes, because then the phones and the artificial lighting, again, that keeps you awake and you're not relaxing. And so relaxation can help with the muscles, even if you're not falling asleep. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there, Reacher. I usually poop while watching YouTube videos. Yeah, you're not like that. You're not special. I'm from New Zealand, James. I'm gonna need you to stop being gorgeous. Okay. Did that help? You should. I don't know if I quite got a whole 1 second in there, so let me know if I need to try again. Tannins! Nova Chunk! Yes, it was tannins! Thank you! I was trying to remember what it was. It was tannins. That's crazy. Hi, Fred! Be right back, coffee? Yeah, you go for it, especially at the time of morning it is for you. A Hungarian scientist, Ignaz Semmelweis, was actually one of the first people to urge physicians to wash their hands between autopsies and childbirth after discovering it greatly reduced maternal deaths. Oh, even for the mothers. Interesting. That's another thing with the mortality rate. I didn't consider that there were a lot of either infant deaths where babies would die, but also the maternal deaths. So yeah, there were a lot of mothers who would have been dying at very young ages, which would have brought the life expectancy down as well. But There we go. So it reduced maternal deaths. In fact, he also figured out that the chlorine helped a lot, not just simple water. He was mocked by many doctors. He ended up being in a mental asylum and got beaten to death. Wow. His life is quite tragic. He probably saved millions of lives. Yeah, once one person was like, he may have been onto something. I guess at the time, it would have been so radical that people just would have been like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. But there's a fine line between craziness and genius, hey? My best sleep, says Goku, I've gotten is in the library. I'm hoping diffusion osmosis rules will apply and I'll learn something in my sleep. Yeah, where you have something underneath your pillow or whatever. No, I love it, Thief Stalker. I love it. Thank you so much. And this is a perfect opportunity to be sharing these things. It's very, very on topic. Hi, Jacob. The best sleep I got was in a boat cabin. I wonder why. Was that maybe something to do with the rocking? Like simulating rocking to sleep, perhaps? I'm not 100% sure. Background is AI, not that I am aware of. Toyota was founded in 1939. Today we learned. Even if it's not on topic. Volcanic rock and debris does an amazing amount of filtering, but lead to black, cloudy water. Yes, and so I think that similarly, the tannins, thank you again, Nova Chunk, for reminding me of the word. It was escaping me, causes the same situation, or a similar situation. According to the news, New Zealand is a ghost town and Oz is overflowing. How's life over there? Is the cost of living oppressive? Well, let me put it this way. I don't live in New Zealand. Is that not indicative enough as a New Zealander? Yes, the cost of living is tough. And so I left and I lived in Australia for 10 years and now I'm in the UK, but I am still yet to figure out what the cost of living is really like over here because I have to learn more about wages. But it's definitely better in Australia than it is in New Zealand for sure. English accent, I just have a very pompous accent, essentially. The wine snubs love it, Dan, and indeed. Hi, Princess. Hi, Funkle Drunk. Steelbones are so smug with how they rock the percentages. That is dark, and I'm not laughing. Fred says the Semmelweis method, or however you spell it, aka washing your hands between touching dead body and baby. Yeah, it's like it's for us today. We're like, how did they not know that? But I guess until you know, you don't know. Ebola is a disease that is blood transmitted for the most part. So the way that people were having that pass from host to host was when the people left alive would prepare the bodies of the dead for burial. Fluid transmissions happened. Unlike Kuru, which yes is the prion disease we talked about previously when we spoke of cannibalism. Us speak of cannibalism? That's crazy. Why would someone do that in a public space? Hantavirus and Marburg, I don't know Marburg, are also similar to Ebola in what kind of thing they are and how you get them. There we go. Do you know about the one lady that taught women how to deliver with a knitted model? She saved thousands of lives. No, I've not heard of this at all, Funkle Drunk. You're welcome to share. Yeah, not washing hands. Yeah, exactly. It still can kill people. Not even just in third world countries, just anywhere. My best sleep was in a library too, but that's because I was bored. A nice little nap. Doctors used to consider that apron being stiff with blood and pus to be a mark of skill, and doctors can't be causing infections. They're clean people. That is ridiculous. We have to stop this not washing hands guy before he kills again. We must get onto it. Thank you, JB. I appreciate the love for the accent, especially because it's a bit random, my accent. Reminds me how doctors used to smoke during the cowboy times because it was believed it helped people how not getting infected. Yeah. And so like when people thought that smoking would help reduce the likelihood of cancer, whereas now we know that the likelihood of lung cancer in particular is skyrocketed if you're particularly a tobacco smoker. Thank you, Goku. I shall. Whenever they pop in, I'll say, oh, well, Goku says hi. Oh, yeah, you got it, Fred. It's always a bit quiet over there. You're the embodiment of my nightmares in a good way. Thank you, Dawn. A lot of people say, oh, you look like the girl of my dreams. And I say, well, I'm sorry that I caused so much anguish because I like to make the joke about it being a nightmare. The thing about me being a New Zealander, I'm not actually there yet. And that's what confuses people the most. No, they're British. The New Zealanders don't really have the bricks, especially in their houses. Her teeth are AI. Finally, someone's pointed it out. Marburg is horrifying, you say. Yeah, I've not heard of that one, and I'm probably glad I didn't. Smoking does prevent infection. It keeps bugs away, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Hey, Leo, good to see you. One time at a baseball event, my high school, I saw a guy walk out of the bathroom and not wash his nasty ass hands. I called him out good in front of the class, yelling, I know one of y'all didn't wash y'all nasty ass hands. Hey, and I hope that you're preventing some disease spreading. So good on you, princess. Angelique Marguerite Le Boisier du Coudray. Oh my gosh. Every single one of those words, I was like, I'm butchering it. And then there were more. Anyhow, sorry, Angelique. I know that I did not say your name correctly. Okay, so they were the ultimate midwife. Happy Women's Month. She created a model that was easily deciphered. Oh, this is the knitted model. So a model that was easily deciphered by young mothers who most likely never even knew how to read or write. She's been credited with thousands and thousands of lives from the birth she directly and inadvertently helped with. That's beautiful. Hell yeah. Yeah, New Zealand hasn't got the Brick.DLC. That's the one. No, you're so fine, Funkle Drunk. Don't worry about the wall of text. We're having a nice slow start today, so I think it's a perfect time to have wall of text. We can actually keep up with them. I always wanted to visit New Zealand because Lord of the Rings and all that. It is so damn far. That's actually why I moved, because I want to explore more of Europe and a lot of the European cultures. But it's so far from New Zealand and Australia when I live there. Here's a Kiwi test. When you are talking about a small amount of something, is it a little bit, a tiny bit, or a wee bit? Well, I would say if, okay, so what kind of thing? I have to do it in a sentence. Or just a wee bit. I mean, yeah, just a smidge. It's contextual. It depends what you're talking about. Typhoid Mary killed a chunk of a city by not washing her hands. Mary, quite contrary. Which country has the best slang? I will say that the Americans do kind of have some. I think the Americans, I would have to say, win just because I love the word y'all. I know it's a simple thing, but y'all is such a great catch-all. And very few other countries use y'all. And y'all is great slang. Well, we were talking about sleep, so I do actually want to get back on that, J-Joy. So we kind of were talking about sleep, and then we were that segue to diseases, but I still need more answers on the sleep, so we'll go back there. Yes, exactly, Sunbeam. A little bit of both. So we were talking about filthy, unwashed people, bringing down life expectancy, and then also random anecdotes from that. God didn't give me hyperhidrosis so I could waste my time washing my hands. I don't know what hyperhidrosis. Does that mean where you're super sensitive to water? A medical condition characterized by excessive uncontrollable sweating. That exceeds the body's normal temperature regulation needs. That sucks, man. Excessive sweating, it can affect the whole body or even just certain areas. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it doesn't. And that's pretty much it. That sucks. You have to know Spanish and barely know English to make it work for Spanglish. Yeah, that's a good point as well. A smidge, yeah, a little dab, a little splash, like a splash of milk. Y'all is so good, hey. I'm well, Fishka. How are you? Have you ever used use? I'm not really one to use use, but my boss used use all the time. How dare you make me say that sentence? That was really, really pushing my brain right now. So it's palms for you in particular. I picked up y'all from Oklahoma. It's just so good. It's so good. A missing word otherwise, y'all. British has the best cuss words. Bloody hell. Yeah, twat, prick. They do have some good cuss words. I'll agree with you there. You need help sleeping? Yeah, a lot of us do. The binge, hello. Are you a writer? What do you think about the pen being a connection of the soul? I would not consider myself a writer. I think that I'm actually okay at writing. Like, I think I have some... I've been doing a lot of creative work in my lifetime, so I think I have some skills with a pen, but I would have to think about the pen being connection of the soul. But I don't want to do that now because I'm still very curious about the sleep stuff, and we'll segue too far. Ah, it's a superpower, you're saying. I don't know enough about hyperhidrosis, I guess. It just feels like it wouldn't be great to be excessively sweating. But maybe if it's only in certain parts, it wouldn't be. I guess I think about it from just the armpits, and that one would suck. But maybe if that's not the version you have, it's okay. I create with AI and technology. Good for you. Well, we're not talking about Iran at the moment. Oh, thank you, Shinefox. I appreciate that. I do. I always find it weird to call myself like a content creator. In that sense, I don't find myself very creative, but in other elements, like I do enjoy storytelling. I think is and what that medium looks like can differ sometimes. Anyhow, pause. Let me go back to polyphasic sleep and wrap that up. So gaslighting I can close off. I wanted to know the Einstein nap technique. So it was a micro-napping trick used to enter the hypnagogic. I'll just show you the word. I'll zoom in so people can see this word here. Okay, scroll slightly up. There we go. This word. Hypnagogic? Hypnagogic. Anyhow, whatever that word is designed to spark creativity and trigger eureka moments. All right. So weird. So you're supposed to sit upright in a comfortable armchair or recline with your arm hanging off the side of a bed or sofa. So rather than being fully lay down, then hold something in your hand. Place a metal tray or plate directly on the floor. This feels weird. Close your eyes and allow yourself to doze off. As soon as you begin to lose consciousness, your muscle will relax. The object will drop from your hand, clatter loudly against the tray. So basically, as you're starting to fall asleep, wake yourself up. And here it is, this state. This brief dreamlike state occurs during the very first phase of sleep, or N1. The brain momentarily becomes fluid and hyperassociative. Oh, studies in cognitive neuroscience suggest that resting in this twilight phase can significantly boost problem-solving abilities and help you draw connections between remote concepts. By waking the moment you drop the object, you catch the creative, surreal sparks of thought before you fall into a deeper, less productive sleep. Okay, so I actually do have anecdotal story for myself with this. So dreams, this is not the anecdotal part. Dreams are meant to be this like subconscious ability to create all of these connections. And so the term sleeping on it is actually somewhat helpful because you can make all of these wild connections that your conscious brain doesn't necessarily have the ability to do. And people will sometimes achieve that with like ayahuasca or whatever. And so I completely understand what they're getting at because I have had cases where I've been trying to get to sleep, sleep will not come, and I'm staring up at the ceiling, but I choose not to go on my phone. And so everything's relaxed, and then my body is kind of in this weird sleep state, but I'm not fully asleep. So it's like the subconscious and dream-like creative flow starts to hit like you've taken drugs essentially, and so it's all of the connections are able to be made so surreally, but you're still awake, and then you can, like they say, do these problem solves. I've had scenarios like this where I created like TV shows, I suppose, in my brain. I'm not saying they were good TV shows, but I was just like, wow, let's do this and this and this and that, and here's an epiphany here. So I completely understand the idea behind it, but only because I've been lucky enough to have a couple, or unlucky enough to have a few terrible nights where I couldn't sleep, and so I just started dreaming while awake, I suppose. Hypnagogic. So I can understand that being a thing, and especially it's kind of, even if it's not creative, it can be creative with logic as well, where it's trying to figure out all of those connections and this heightened ability in a way. Okay, Don sends his regards. Oh, he's betrayed me already. I'm not surprised. Okay, let me catch up some of these ones as well. Speaking of moving, I've been eyeballing Scotland or Canada. Ooh, I wanted to live near due to family, not trying to vent, but a lot of family members started distancing themselves. On, yeah, now that the key family members die. I know that when my grandparents passed away, my cousins and extended family, they don't get together as much anymore. So it does happen. Moving's back on my mind again. Yeah, I mean, if it's a possibility and you think about your own situation, why not? Why not? Sleep when you are sleepy. The best advice. Thank you, Shinebox. Sorry to trigger work trauma. Y'all overuse. I really tried full alliteration. Yeah, y'all overuse. Ugh, too many words. Okay, hypnagogic. Like logic. Oh, hypnagogic. Okay, logic was much better way of doing it. Hypnagogic. Hypnagogic. Maybe, logic. Gogic. Hypnagogic. Yay! We got there eventually. Good news. YouTube recommended me both the horizontal and the vertical on the homepage. Oh, thank you, YouTube. Yeah, it's like hallucinations. Genuinely, I've actually reached that state a few times, and it is fascinating. Yeah, I've only reached it a couple times, but it is I guess something like what's it called when you are able to control your dreams? Not liminal. I'm sure that one of you guys will be able to explain it, but like where you are conscious in your dreams, that one you can practice. Thank you. Yes, I could figure it was an L, but it just was escaping me for some reason. Lucid dreaming is something that people can teach themselves. I'm sure there are people that won't be able to ever lucid dream, but theoretically, you can teach yourself how to lucid dream. And so why not teach yourself to enter this, I can do it, hypnagogic state. Oh, I think I got it. Hypnagogic. I feel confident with that pronunciation now. It's and then the more you try to achieve it, the better you get at it, etc. Your body starts understanding it. I guess similar to lucid dreaming, though, there's probably some sort of side effects. Apparently, lucid dreaming, and I'm not saying this for certain. I haven't done sleep studies, so feel free to correct me if this information is incorrect. But I heard that people who lucid dream aren't necessarily hitting the REM state, and so that can have side effects and cause you to be more sleepy or other things that are escaping me. And so potentially if you're constantly hitting these states that it might not be good for you, but nonetheless. Yeah, and so, Shark even said lucid dreaming earlier. I should have just scrolled down and I wouldn't have need to think about it. Learn how long it takes for you to drift off. Record yourself yelling, bloody hell, wanker twat prick for final stage, you reckon, Sunbeam? Fair dinkum. If you can't sleep for more than 20 minutes, you're supposed to stop trying to sleep for a few minutes and try again. Yes, I've heard this as well. And even leaving your bed and then coming back to it. I've tried a few of these things and it doesn't necessarily work for me, but you got to find what works for you. It's likely actively viewing, interacting with your subconscious. That's how I see it as well. Or at least before I even had the term hypnagogic, that's kind of how I felt I was experiencing this creative flow state, is that it was this line between consciousness and subconsciousness. When I need to learn a song, I learn it, sleep for an hour, then it is locked in. Lyrics, music, everything, my own or others' music is kind of magic. That does sound like magic. Alex said, I'm 52 now, but I'll never forget it as long as I live. When I was around 11, I had an experience and I just can't explain. I truly believe my soul left my body and I slowly floated up to the ceiling. I could look down and see my body, then I slowly drifted back down. Yeah, people call that like astral projection, I believe. Out of body experiences, etc. But I don't know what causes that. I'm sure that we could look into it though. Hi, Ad, by the way. I thank you for the follow as well. I had a dream once where I saw a red tornado land on my head. Then I woke up and had a fever. You definitely got cursed. That was a witch's curse for sure, Fred. I'm sorry. Whoever you pissed off definitely sent a spell your way. For sure. Just give them green to listen to REM. I have been told by someone that learned lucid dreaming to not try it. It is difficult to stop lucid dreaming habit and get back to REM states. Yes, that's similar to what I've heard as well, but I don't know. I have to remind myself of why REM is important before I go on a rant about why one shouldn't always lucid dream. Real question, feel free to decline, but how often do you whiten your teeth, and is it by dentist or DIY? So we will answer this very shortly. I'll just, I think that I'll wrap up some of the sleep because, in fact, I think that this is probably a good time to kind of wrap that up and then move on to some games because otherwise I'll never play some games. So you guys, you keep me wanting to yap forever and then I don't play games. So I think we'll just make sure that that's wrapped up and then I'm happy to answer the question. Easy peasy. Is that the same as cosmic change, astral projection, awake or not? I don't know what cosmic change is. Sorry, Francis. Who invented the 4, 8, 10 hours rule of sleeping? Well, that's how we got onto it today, is we learned about second sleep. And so I still haven't understood why people were awake in the middle of the night. Ibuprofen is how I say that one. Yeah, I'm a gamer girl. The best thing that worked for me was having a room that's only for bed activities. Yes, and that's something that a lot of sleep studies say is no phones in bed, no computers, no TV, no devices, having soft lighting before you go to bed so that kind of mimics the dusk and then you're ready for bed, etc. And exactly what you said is this is the bedroom, this is sleeping room, and even no phones when you wake up as well, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I don't I won't use my phone when I go to bed because that will help me not be having a screen in front of my face. But if you wake up and you're immediately on your phone, then that still has that effect of your bed not being just for bed. I feel like every time I sleep, I can hear my thoughts to the people around me. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I wonder what that's all about. Out-of-body experiences are actually fairly common and common across genders, different socioeconomic and cultural groups is because it's an artifact of various parts of the brain being active when others aren't. In terms of computers, it's like seeing your graphics card putting rainbows everywhere while the computers are on. It can be a lot of things like drivers or hardware, software, even cables not working the right way. Thank you, Shark, for sharing. How much of reading chats only hits you later after stream, even several days later? I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that one. Okay, so before we fully move on, let's see if we can understand one final thing, which is because the Einstein nap technique, I'm happy to move on from that. That was nice and condensed. We won't harp on that. But what I do want to know is when humans had this natural polyphasic sleep, because this is now 50 minutes ago. I've loved all of the segues, don't get me wrong. I have no issues with where it's gone. But there's still the gremlin of why did people wake up in the middle of the night? I think stoking the fire is the best theory that I've heard from us so far. For those who came in a little bit later and didn't understand how we got here, we have come across the term second sleep, like second breakfast. But basically it's called polyphasic or segmented sleeping patterns, which humans used to do pre-artificial lighting. So they'd sleep for 3 to 4 hours, then be awake for 1 to 2 hours, and then go back to sleep for another few hours. And this is not just hunter-gatherer days, this because we looked up artificial lighting and whatnot, and so other than candles, I suppose. But this would have still been applicable to people in, I want to say modern civilization, but I don't think I can use that word. In civilization is probably the word. So we already had houses, we already had markets. We're later than even the medieval era, so people are fully like into their routine that really isn't that dissimilar to nowadays. Hi, Jeff. There's a BBC article. I don't have that one. Oh, maybe I do have that one. The Forgotten This one says medieval habit. So I did open one. So maybe this is the one if you think that one was a decent one. So I'll go through this. Thank you, Franco. People needed to wake up at different times to protect the tribe. Yeah, so we had theories that might be where some of that came from. So doing a little check on the tribe. But why would that still be applicable in the comfort of your own home, for example? And you're correct. We found out about the industrialism. So it's not so much the revolution, but industrialism creating this more monophasic, as they called it. So this chunk of longer sleep rather than broken up 2 sleeps. But if you are, say, living in 1500s, 1600s, people would be in their own homes at this point. And even today, there are homes that were built from the 1600s still standing. So why would you still have a polyphasic sleep pattern in that kind of setting? Hunter-gatherer days, yep, sure, we have a lot of theories, but why later on? Get up to piss, maybe? Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, hello, Swiggly Mike Jones. I haven't heard of that name in a while. It's good to see you. How you been? Hi, Cody Cameron. So let's read this BBC article and then we can go genetics. Well, they're saying that it may have been a more natural human sleeping pattern before the industrialism. Oh, thank you, Princess. Much appreciated. It was around 11 o'clock at night on 13 April 1699. In a small village in the north of England, 9-year-old Jane Ralph blinked her eyes open. What is this storytelling? And squinted out into the moody evening shadows. She and her mother had just awoken from a short sleep. Okay, let's see what else we have. They were expecting visitors. What is this story? Okay, so now we have Roger Ekert walk through the arched entranceway, an imposing Gothic building. There's too much fluff here. This BBC, I understand a lot of people love learning through storytelling. It is a very effective way of teaching as well. But this just feels like a creative writer who didn't get a job publishing their own stories, but they did get a job in journalism. And so they're like, maybe a little bit too much fluff. You know, maybe a minimum word count. That's also a good point. Got 14 of the little ships, middle of the night is peaceful. Yeah, go back to sleep. Seems different people are born with different internal wiring. Yeah, for sure, James. I completely agree with that. And I'm a big believer of that in other aspects, not just in sleep. Mike Jones says we have the sleep pattern so that we're already with that thing on us to handle off. Yeah, once upon a time. Sneaking out to bang the neighbor's wife. Oh my goodness, I like it. Yes, exactly right. I know a Twitch streamer who was told she doesn't have sleeping issues. Her brain is just wired to want to sleep during the day. Yes, and so some people, I guess, would call that circadian rhythm, but I'm not so convinced in that case. Obviously, not knowing as much about the Twitch streamer in question. My sleep pattern works for me. You get paid more to work at night. There we go. As you mentioned, polyphasic sleep seems quite likely. I don't know of any really old person who can make it fully through the night without a pee or a snack or watch a bit of SBS old-time movies. And yeah, what we looked at earlier with the wiki page was saying some people think that it may be the more natural way of humans sleeping as well. Each word counts, apparently. Okay, but this is the problem, as I'm not actually reading it now. Okay, Jane describes how just before the so this is all about visitors. Okay, here we go. So Ekert Source the Archives found many more references to this mysterious phenomenon of double sleeping or biphasic or polyphasic or sleep segmented. They have so many names now. So a lot of these are anecdotal. Whoever called it for going to sneak out, it looks like there were definitely people who had the same thought process there. Frequent other people's houses for sinister deeds. Okay, so first sleeps are mentioned in one of the most famous works of medieval literature, Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. Okay. Yeah, and that was ages ago. They're talking about pilgrims, also talked about in Beware the Cat in the 1500s. But that's just the beginning. So letters, diaries. So basically, this guy found a whole bunch of people talking about biphasic sleep and in lots of parts of the world. This is just basically, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Okay, so they began to suspect the method had been the dominant way of sleeping for millennia. And even recorded something in 8th century BC. Okay, let's read this one. From as early as 9 to 11, those fortunate enough to afford them would begin flopping onto mattresses stuffed with straws or rags. Alternatively, it may have even contained feathers if they were wealthy. There really was a minimum word count here. At the time, most people slept communally and often found themselves snuggled up with a cozy assortment of bed bugs, fleas, lice, family members. Oh, wait, I thought they were still talking about the family members there. Friends, servants, or even total strangers. To minimize awkwardness, sleep involved a number of strict social conventions, such as avoiding physical contact or too much fidgeting, and there were designated sleeping positions. A couple hours later, people would begin rousing from this initial slumber around 11 to 1. So it wasn't because of a disturbance. It happened naturally, just as it does in the morning. And this is now known as the watch. So not dissimilar to hunter-gatherer days, but it was a surprisingly useful window in which to get things done. But what things? We've theorized all of this. What things? Adding wood to the fire. Finally, after 50 minutes, we finally have someone who gave us an answer. Taking remedies or going to urinate. 9 Fox called it. Often into the fire itself. Jesus Christ. For peasants, this also meant checking on the farm animals. Oh, I suppose if a wolf has come to try and snack on your flock, it would be nice to know. Household chores, such as patching, combing. But this would also imply that they could do that in the light, right? So under candlelight, maybe? Someone brewed a batch of beer. Hell yeah. All right. Now I'm on the biphasic sleep pattern. If I need to wake up for an hour or two in the middle of the night to batch brew a beer, some brewed beer, I can't do the tongue twister. To make some beer, then maybe I should do it. Some religion. I feel like that is something that does make a lot of sense. A time for prayer, for sure. Not just Christians. I could imagine that. Often they would just stay in bed and chat. That's kind of cute. A little deep and meaningful. Well, you got to get those 14 children somehow. You do have to get that 14 children somehow. Yeah, okay, all right. Or Pokemon battles. That's also a good point. We hadn't considered that. Thank you, Sponge, for the insight there. Yeah, the neighbor's wife. You called it. And then they just go back to sleep. So this is also good. If they'd had a long day of manual labor, the first sleep took the edge off their exhaustion, and the period afterwards was thought to be an excellent time to conceive copious numbers of children. Sometimes with the neighbor's wife. And then they'd head back to bed. Next step was considered a morning sleep and might last until dawn. And then that would be more like today. Okay, sleeping twice, peppered throughout the classical era was embraced by Christians, probably other religions too. Yeah, and that's where they do their recitals of psalms and confessions. I could see that being a big part for the religious aspects. So that's saying other animals. And this word count, I don't know why they wrote so much, but I think you're calling it where they had to have some sort of word count. Because why are we now speaking specifically about the ring-tailed lemur? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so now we've got a sleep study of a more modern aspect. After an initial week of observing the normal sleeping patterns, they were deprived of artificial illumination at night to shorten their hours of daylight. So now they only have 10 hours as opposed to 16 hours of of day, of light. The word I was looking for was light. Okay, they weren't even allowed to play music or exercise. Well, exercise, I feel like that's a bit rough because people would have been allowed to exercise in the 1500s. After 4 weeks of the 10-hour days, their sleeping patterns transformed. They no longer slept in one stretch, but in 2 halves roughly the same length. Okay, now we're talking. The sleep hormone melatonin showed that their circadian rhythms had adjusted too. So their sleep was altered at a biological level. This is now actually very fascinating. Rather than now that we're getting through all of the fluff, and by fluff I mean fur of a ring-tailed lemur, we're actually starting to get some information through it. Oh, well, they've tied in the lemur to Madagascar. No infrastructure or electricity in this area of Manadina. Mostly farmers. They found that they would be up at night, okay. But what would they do? Again, I understand that they might be awake, but I want to know what they do. Yes, they might be more similar, these farmers, to an older era, rather than what a lot of us will be living in our context. But what do the farmers do? Anyhow, so then it's the industrialism, which we have already learnt about. Okay. So apparently giving the Madagascan community artificial light, it made no impact, so the mystery continues. Okay, so still talking about industrialism, that's monophasic now. We quickly began shaming those who overslept. Aww. The social blame. Oh, this is now about something else altogether. I love that buzzing flow. I take medications, but when people learn that this have been normal for millennia, finds that it lessens their anxiety. Okay, so basically, if you're someone who has 2 sleeps, you're probably more normal than the rest of us. Okay, short single periods of slumber might be more natural. Yeah. There was a lot of nothing in that entire article. So basically, the mystery still continues, but it's essentially just maybe we just couldn't hold our bladders for 8 hours. So perhaps what we need to now simultaneously research is the correlation, or like the differences of how long a human can hold their bladder today versus several hundred years ago. And then we can see if that has anything to do with the sleep cycle as well. Yeah, the mystery bloody continues. How about that? But anyway, it did say putting wood on the fire. I think that the reality is that there's no limit to what they were doing while they were awake. They just did whatever they needed to. Whether that piss, whether that to stoke the flames, whether that just, okay, I guess I'm awake, and just find something to do. I guess I have to simply accept that I've been overcomplicating it. Me overcomplicating it? I just want to know what millions of people all across the world were doing with their midnight to 2 a.m. Time when they would be having polyphasic sleep, okay? Just give me the anecdotal evidence of millions of people. Is it that hard? Perhaps even billions, okay? Is it really that hard to just tell me what they were doing with that time? Goodness gracious me. So disappointing. But that was a lot of fun. Buzzing Fly, thank you so much for leading us down this rabbit hole. I learned a lot today, even if I also learned nothing at all. I did find that very interesting. So we'll catch up with some people anyhow. Hi, Darn. Hi, Al. Thank you so much for the congratulations. It was very exciting. Okay, so let me see. Where were we? There's the critters. Okay. Funny you say that, because Stephen King was notorious for writing newspaper articles and mini magazine articles before anyone bothered to publish a single short story or book he sent in for publishing. Apparently, his own wife had to dig the manuscript for Carrie out of the trash and force him to finish it with a statement, "I can help you understand being a teenage girl." Oh my goodness, that's so funny, Squiggly Poo. Okay. Thank you, Caden, for the compliment on all the things. You have a very sweet smile. Thank you, James. They didn't have TV, Xbox, or the internet, or social funded pension system. That's how they got so many children, hoping one of them would get rich. Exactly right. Or just survive is the other thing. Is this part of dystopian probabilistic hereafter in a mankind's several presented midlife crisis? No, why would you say that? Deprived of light, just moved to Alaska. I did have a good Arvo fit. Thank you so much for asking. I could have had an hypnagogic nap in the time it takes to pass this article. Exactly right. The sun went down. This is in Alaska today at about 8:30 p.m. I went to the bar after I got off work at midnight, and the sun was behind the mountain as I walked out of the bar close to 3 a.m. Jeepers! My goodness gracious. I guess it is very north, hey? I didn't give, yeah, exactly, Nine Fox. They just do whatever they want. And so it's an unsatisfying answer, but the same way that we can decide to do whatever we want with our day, and therefore I have to accept that they did whatever they wanted. And it was just, it's not that big a deal. Sad. I didn't give the writing quality much attention before. Now I wonder about writer's experience and stuff. Yeah. But I basic sleep. Oh yeah, there's paper Kindle. We treat night people as if they're criminals. Yeah, I think that it is. It's definitely an effect of the industrialism and how we expect this kind of 9 to 5 molding. But I think that similar to diets is another thing that I believe very strongly about of listening to your body. Some people do just prefer to be awake at night and sleeping during the day. It might be a smaller, it might be not the majority because it is very, it makes sense for a non-nocturnal animal like humans to be awake during the day. But not everyone is going to be like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're able to find a lifestyle that suits that, I think that works. So, for example, people will have night shift works. And I know that that's another sleep study people have done of shifting circadian rhythms because of night shift work. It has some sort of diagnosis of it, of like night shift worker syndrome or something like that. It's very unimaginative. But it is a thing. People can change their sleep schedules, but if you don't have to, why bother? And so I, for one, have tried to change my sleep schedule because I do enjoy being awake during the day, but I was one who used to sleep a lot during the day. So I've been trying to change that, and moving time zones has helped me with that, to force myself to try and create a sleep routine, essentially. We used to spend 8 hours a day preparing and eating food. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they could even be helping with that overnight. Just do anything. Do anything. Oh, I lost my thing. Random Rants, your friendly neighborhood Yowie. That's so cute. We were learning about sleep cycles today, but we're going to play some Red Dead Redemption very shortly. I just want to wrap everything up. Where did I get lost? People used to start their jobs all over the place. Now everyone starts work at 9 a.m. Yeah, and I guess the types of jobs as well. That's another thing to consider. So we have a lot of bakers who, even in our modern age, will get up super early, and farmers would get up at dawn as well. And maybe that was made possible by this biphasic sleep schedule. Maybe it's easier for them. But it's just different type of work. Kicked out a guy today from the place I work because he couldn't hold his bladder. Oh my God, whipped it out to pee in the daylight. What the heck? I'm sorry that you had to do that at work, Swiggly Boo. That is not what you want. I would be a harsh editor. I actually think that I would love editing, whether that not so much like film editing, but film script editing. I'm not necessarily super creative to write something from start to finish, but when I used to want to be in the film industry, I would get a lot of scripts, and I'm like, this would be so much better with just tiny little, usually it's cutting things out. And I think I would have loved that kind of thing in novels as well. Just I would have loved it, but I would be harsh. And that's the thing is then you'll have people who get to a point where they, I'm thinking like Scorsese, right? I will make a 3-hour film. None of it is allowed to be edited out whatsoever, but they've got the reputation to allow for cuts to not be made. Anyhow, I definitely remember, especially getting peers scripts where they're like, hey, I just want to do this little 1-2 minute scene for whatever project, and it would just need a little bit of zhuzhing up to make it excellent. I would have loved editing for sure. And then I would have just got better at it if I was practicing it all the time. What is the reason we sleep for 8 hours now? Kegel exercises! Ron. Oh my goodness. Night people are criminals. I have yet to see anyone wander the street at night and do something productive outside of get their shit off the sidewalk. Well, I guess the shift workers would be at least some way of allowing non-criminal justice there. Spent the last decade during security in Barwick. Yeah, that would give you some bias for sure, Swiggly for sure. My son is a night person. It's frustrating because he needs to go to school. Yes, I can completely understand that. I stayed awake a lot as a high schooler, but as a primary schooler, I think I was pretty all right with my sleeping. And you know, my sister or my parents would get me up anyway and force me to go to school. So I never had any issues as a primary school kid. But in high school, I got myself to school, so if I didn't have a good night's sleep, that is only myself to blame, and I was forced to just go anyway. But anyhow, maybe once they leave school, it'll be okay, but it doesn't help if you keep on building those habits of being a night owl, and then suddenly if you get a 9 to 5, it can make it hard, for sure. Hi, Bazooka! Shift work disorder. Thank you, Fred. 7:30 a.m. here, supposed to be my Sabbath, but have not slept a single minute, you poor thing. My brain didn't produce enough melatonin, so now I'm stuck and feels like a deprived owl zombie. Tend to function pretty well in the night, but if I need, I can function during the day. Yeah, Cody Cameron, you're often up quite late. You randomly learn how to make it work. Eventually, in my experience, I would get a 4-hour nap before school, then sleep on the bus a little extra. There we go. So hopefully our Random Rants or our Yowies family will be okay. I should say the guy who whipped it out to pee was drunk. Makes sense. We hadn't served him alcohol though. It was in the parking lot where people were driving by. He was not going to be allowed back, and then I think that's fair enough for sure. Okay, so to wrap it all up. Were you not listening? No. To wrap it all up, I think that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for going down the little rabbit hole with me. I haven't done one of those in a while, and I do really enjoy learning. If you guys are new, that's kind of something that I find very fun. I'm a curious cat, and I do enjoy learning, and it was good to learn about second sleep. We went in for an hour, and we really have cemented a lot of our understanding of it, but in general. Yes, Natcher, I shall do. How about I do this question before I play some games? Exactly, Random Rants. I mean, I say that of myself, and I get to choose when I live stream, and so it works well for me. Thank you, Cody Cameron. So Nacho a little while ago asked about my teeth. I get a lot of comment on my teeth. So first things first, I had braces, and so that's why they are somewhat straight. And because I had braces, and this doesn't go for everyone who had braces, but I anecdotally feel that a lot of people who had braces tend to have a little bit more oral hygiene care, because when you have a whole bunch of stuff stuck in your teeth and you can't get it out with just your tongue, then you kind of have to develop a little bit more attentiveness to the braces. And then when I got my braces off, I wanted to kind of keep this very not clean, because I was always clean, but I just wanted to look after my teeth. And when they took my braces off, I guess they did a little bit of a shine up. I do believe they gave me a little bit of a whiten, and I'm assuming that that's pretty standard practice. You get your braces off for the first time, and maybe give you a little bit of whitener so that when you look at yourself for the first time with no braces on after several years of having them, you're like, wow, so beautiful. And so from there, I basically just wanted to kind of keep that look. So this is now 12 years ago. When did I get them off? Maybe 10 years ago. Anyway, it's been a while. So I wanted to essentially keep the look of when I first got my braces off. So how do I achieve that? I make sure to brush my teeth every morning, every evening. I do floss. That is a thing. I know a lot of people don't floss. I'm one of them. I'm a flosser. On top of that, I will always have a glass of water with my cup of tea or coffee because that prevents staining. So a lot of people will have staining after drinks. I don't really drink sugary drinks as well, so I have no erosion. I've never had a filling in my entire life. So all my teeth are natural. And so I don't consume a lot of things that cause decay of my teeth. And if I do, even if it's not decay, but if it is staining, then I will have some water to help swish that around. And sometimes I will even make sure to give them a little brush. So that, for the most part, keeps them quite white. But I have tried teeth whitener as well. So I think for about 5-6 years, I never had it after my braces. And then I got a new dentist and they asked, like, they did a little whiten up when I was at the dentist. And that was basically a marketing, free advertising, right? Where they do a little whiten up after you're cleaning the teeth. And it's like, hey, do you want to have teeth whitener? And so I went, sure, why not? I mean, my teeth look great. Throw some my way. And so I tried that, but I don't use it anymore because there are some really bad side effects. So for example, teeth whitener, it can also erode your teeth if you're using it too often. It can make eating really tough afterwards. You're not supposed to eat a few hours after using teeth whitener because it's all like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was. But I found that I wasn't like, because this is my dentist. They told me that it was fine, so of course I would trust an expert, right? So I was happy using it, but I was using it a lot under what I thought was the guidance of, not every night, but like every couple of nights. And then I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't need my teeth to be that super white. This is ridiculous. And it just made my teeth hurt and made them sensitive. And it just felt wrong. And so I basically stopped using, this was a few years ago, I stopped using teeth whitener, other than when I would go to the dentist to get a cleanup, then do a little bit of it, and then I had like a syringe that it came in, and I was like, well, I may as well use up the rest of the syringe. But I have not had teeth whitener for over a year now. I think my syringe ran out about a year ago. And so funnily enough, a lot of people are like, wow, your teeth are so white. This is less white than I am used to, but I'm trying to get used to that idea because I've worked so hard. And when I've had 10 years of even whiter teeth, I've really tried to remember that this is kind of unnatural. And so I'm finding that balance. I'm finding that I look at my teeth, especially in the mirror, and closer to my gums it's a little bit more yellow, and I'm like, oh, time to get some whitener again. But I am working on not falling back into that mentality because I do think that it is it's not necessarily helpful. Yes, that's what that Nacho Dusty, you know me by now. I love an over explanation, and so that's why I was like, if we're going to talk about it, it has to be after the other topic because it will dedicate 5 minutes, maybe even more. So basically, that is it. Hopefully you took away something from it. Okay. Is Clem Rabbit Hole an acceptable statement? Is that teetering on the ban term? Look, we shall allow it because it was on it was on topic. Donald Trump, I know your message got deleted, but I will actually answer this. Have you tried not talking for a day? I'm not certain this was, because I know some people come in and they're like, hey, shut the fuck up. And I'm not certain that you were having this mentality because you've been in streams before. And so I actually will answer this seriously. I actually offline don't talk a lot. I know, it's crazy. It's a wild concept, especially if you have followed me for a while. But when I turn off the live stream, I love not talking. And as an example, yesterday I swapped, it was meant to be a movie night now and gaming yesterday. And I swapped those days around because yesterday I was like, I don't really want to talk. I caught up with my parents, so yes, I did talk, but I was just not in the mood. I was like, I don't enjoy vocalizing. And so there are plenty of times where I'm very comfortable in my own silence. And in fact, I prefer it. I want to have the silence. I don't even want music on. I don't want YouTube on. I just want silence. And that extends to my vocalization as well. I want it to be dead silent. I know a lot of people get very uncomfortable with silences. I, on the other hand, love a dead silence. Give it to me. And so yes, I'm very comfortable not talking. I don't know if I have done it intentionally of not talking for an entire day. I have lived with people for many, many years now, and it's rare where I will have the house to myself. So you kind of can't, well, you don't often, it's hard to avoid talking if you are living with someone. But on days where I've been on my own, I'm sure that I've accidentally not spoken for a day, unless I was live streaming, perhaps. So it's not something I've consciously done, but I would feel comfortable doing it. And as an aside, there are actually retreats that are called silent retreats. I feel like I would be fine at a silent retreat. I don't know if I would want to do a whole week, but like a weekend, I'd do a silent retreat. The idea is that you just go. And so so I learned about this through Fauna, actually, Flora and Fauna, for those who were watching when I was in South Africa. So Fauna had done a silent retreat, and at first it's weird, and then you just get used to it and no one talks, and they have a whole bunch of people just in the same vicinity and just never say anything. And so I would be open to something like that just for the experience and to see what you take away from it. I'll have to check in with Fauna and see what she felt about it. Fauna is a nickname for those who don't know who the hell I'm talking about. So I would be open to trying something like that, but like I said, I wouldn't do it for a whole week. I think a weekend, even a long weekend, I would be curious as to how it would operate for sure. Yeah. I resonate so hard with not talking. I type a lot, but I find verbal communication too much when there's no like cards or pull up. Like, yes, I can understand this as well. And so as an example, I hate a voice message. Anyone who sends me a voice message, it actually infuriates me. I'm like, don't do it. Why you do this? I much prefer written communication in that regard. So maybe you're similar in that as well, Swiggly Boo. I'll often talk aloud so I can hear human voices, not just coming from a device. I can understand that too. I know a lot of people felt the same with COVID lockdowns, for example. Like a challenge at school, groups did silent days to encourage other methods of communication. Ah, I like that. Just to remind us that it's not always down to our voice. We can communicate otherwise. I think that's a nice little challenge for sure. Yeah, and then it transcribes it. I think that because I have an Apple device, and so I got a voice message and it had that transcription out, and I was like, thank fuck, I much prefer a transcription. You do well on a Navy ship if you're saying non-useful words. They say, cut the scuttlebutt. What the heck? That's so funny. Okay, I just want to catch up with some of the dental stuff as well. Teeth are like knees. You miss them when they're gone. Oh my goodness, you're so right about that. I feel like I've seen braces come off and the individual plate placements were still slightly visible. I lucked out. Out of the three brothers, I didn't need any major dental beside a cat from break. Hell yeah, I'm glad to hear that because yeah, it can be tough with a lot of dental work. I did a teeth whiten thing. Yeah, it fucked my teeth. There we go, Dan Edwards in that regard. Teeth whitening is a little extreme, in my opinion. Teeth aren't even supposed to be white. Exactly, and that's the thing. So that's why I was trying to give all of the information. But mine has stayed pretty white since the teeth whitening. But I am aware that I do a lot of work to keep them this white, even if I'm not using whitener. This is a good one, Ron. Yeah, going down a deep clem rabbit hole is good, but going down a deep dent clem's hole is weird. Thank you. Yes, that is exactly the delineation. Is that the word? The descriptions that we need. Dentin is yellow. Enamel ranges a color from clear to white. Cheers, Fred. Okay, if I go a week without talking to anyone, it's a good week. There we go. Okay, so I feel like we've wrapped up the dental stuff as well. I do want peace, but I really love that meme. Text me and expect a response within 24 to 48 hours. Not me. I'm terrible with response. I do like written communication, but that doesn't mean I'm fast at it. I like to feel like my full attention is on the person that I'm messaging, and often I do put my devices down, or rather I don't open up social apps is probably a better way of putting it, when I am not streaming and all these kinds of things. Clem shows up to a silent retreat with a hard case and carries it with her everywhere. Then they get to the last day where they break the silence. She opens the case. It's just her gushing over the keyblade she was packing for a week. It's true. It's true. I just wanted to share it with you all, but I was waiting for the right moment. Okay, so scuttlebutt means water fountain. Really? Yeah, so where they the water cooler, yeah, where the goss is shared. Ooh, okay. If I'm talking a lot, I'm drunk or your boy cannot legally dispose of the information without being subpoenaed. What amazes me is how helpful these streams can be truly for other things that you wouldn't expect, like with helping bowel movement. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need to chuck something on and get that old movement going, and I am pleased that I can assist with it, you know? It's tough for people out there. I'm trying to eat more fiber, though, because you can't always rely on the streams. Another parrot reading comments instead of content. Can you explain to me a little bit more about that? So you've come in for a few moments. Like, have you been here for how many minutes before you've made this decision? Let me know. Yeah, exactly. That was my thought process. But yes, I enjoy reading people's comments, and I enjoy giving a platform for people to share what they want to share, including yourself, Saskatchewan, of being able to read your commentary. I could ignore it, but if you don't, otherwise you could have just not messaged either. But here we are, now giving you the attention because of my squawking. I like that. That's cute, Fish. Thank you. That's a really sweet way of looking at it. But I think the thing is that there are a lot of different types of content out there. And the thing that I don't understand, and maybe Saskatchewan, you can give your insight to this, is not every single reel or YouTube video or live stream has to be Hollywood's cinematic masterpiece, although Hollywood's not that great either, is it? There is, is there anything truly wrong with people just turning up and interacting with commentary? Like, is that actually an issue? It might not be your commentary. Oh, sorry, it might not be your interests, but does that mean other people shouldn't be interested in it? Because if the answer is yes, then you've got a whole other thing going on that I will not be able to unpack. I'm best friends with a girl who I do actively like a lot and have known closely for a decade. She knows something is wrong if I text first, text back too fast, or ask certain questions. Well, I guess if you're best friends, of course they would know. But it's still nice to have that kind of relationship. This guy doesn't understand the deep history of word games, apparently. I was just scrolling. Absolutely love your accent. Where in Australia are you from? So it's a common misconception. A lot of people do think that I'm from Australia. I'm actually from New Zealand, so a little bit for south east than Australia. But I did live in Australia for 10 years, so some of that twang does come into my accent, and so it does make my accent even more confusing. But I'm from New Zealand. I'm from a city called Hamilton, just a small city, about 200,000 people. And then I moved to Melbourne for 10 years, and now I'm actually living in the UK. We expect a certain standard. Well, I feel like I'm constantly trying and failing to meet it. I think being able to just talk is rare. You're not ranting at us, which is great. Oh, thank you. I love that you don't think you're a main character. well, I don't anymore. I'm kidding. I thought I was the main character, but I guess if that's not the impression I'm giving, I'm going to have to reassess and rethink that whole thing. But I do appreciate that. That's actually really sweet. I know a lot of people come in and they're like, hey, what do you do? What is your content? And I honestly, I don't know. I think that I try to be transparent and honest, and I know that I enjoy myself when I go live, but I don't know how I don't know how to market myself because I don't necessarily know what it is I do. And so comments like yours, Fish, of like, well, you're interacting, and it's a good word and it's a good buzzword, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can explain that to other people. I usually say to people, yeah, just have to watch and find out. And if it's for you, great. If it's not, then yeah. Thank you, Todd. You have a good weekend. Anyway, it looks like Saskatchewan didn't want to engage anyhow. Clem's great with crowd work. It's the jokes she still needs to work on. Yeah, I gave up on my comedy stand-up routine, and I just hope people laugh in general, even if it's at me. It's like, haha, redhead. Like, well, at least someone's laughing. Fake accent. Yep, back at it again. You know me. It's crazy how quick she'll show up to my workplace. Oh, really? Oh, if you've messaged in a way that gives her the vibe. Closest thing I could call a soulmate. Yeah, I think that you can absolutely have a soulmate without it being a sexual or romantic soulmate. And in some ways, I think that's what best friends and the idea of best friends are. They can be just people who get each other, soulmates, and it doesn't have to have romance or sex involved whatsoever. No, you're so fine, folks. My accent in particular is not a very strong Kiwi accent, so it is understandable that people get confused. Hi, Luke from Melbourne. I loved Melbourne. I actually do miss Melbourne. I'm planning to go back for PAX, actually. So if you guys, I haven't booked any flights though, but if you guys do see me and you're at PAX Australia in Melbourne, feel free to say hi. I'm the antagonist. I am so glad you've said that, because I really feel like I want to be an antagonist. I feel it in my soul, my lack thereof, but I feel it in my blood, and I don't know what it is. I guess the nurture of my parents. My parents are lovely people. They're actually some of the sweetest people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm completely so appreciative and grateful to them. They are such wonderful human beings. So much so that they have squashed out my true nature, which is to be an absolute menace on society. God. I do want to be a nemesis, thank you. I just wish I had it in me. My parents did too good a job. And maybe my Christian upbringing at my schools as well. When you change sex, you're always honest about it to your kids. You're transparent. This isn't a word game channel anymore. Scandalous. Hi, Stella. Thank you so much. As another Saskatchewan person, they don't represent my province very well. Honestly, it was just a fun excuse to say Saskatchewan. It's kind of the human equivalent of Popstep from My Hero Vigilante. I have, these are words. I'm assuming you mean My Hero Academia, but I don't know who Popstep is anyway. Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry to hear that. That does suck. It is always very, very upsetting. Where in England do you live now? Southampton is where I am. I live in a small town called Walsall, just in the outskirts of Birmingham. I've yet to visit Birmingham, so that'll be on my list of travels at some point. But yes, down south in Southampton. Or farming that antagonist energy. I'm certainly trying. Thank you. Thank you, Alfred. No Don Ray today. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So there was something else that I wanted to say that was in my brain, but it is escaping me. I think it was just basically about content. Yeah. So there is a lot of different type of content, and I think many people, they look at people who are doing content as that they must achieve the Mr. Beast levels, right? And I don't think that this is just about content creation. I think this is in a lot of industries where it is this pursuit of becoming a million, if not billionaire. That is something that is constantly driven home, of earning a whole bunch of money, and that is the big goal. And so therefore, if you're a content creator, the big goal is numerics financially and view count. For me, I've been quite transparent about this. I love what I do, and I would love to earn more money on it. We are very close to monetization on YouTube, which is very exciting. So thank you guys for all the support there and turning up and watching. I would love to earn enough to just feel comfortable, essentially. And I almost think that if there is, I think that I'm a little bit scared of the idea of being too big, because then I wouldn't have the same interaction, as Fish said, that I can here. And sometimes when chat pops off, it does kind of overwhelm me a little bit. I love that people get super engaged, but it does mean that I have to figure out a different style of live streaming. Whereas today, I feel like people have been really engaged, but I've been able to kind of stay on top of the messages. So yeah, it is an interesting thing for me to consider as well, because like I said, I enjoy what I do. People return, so you guys must be enjoying something as well, and that's awesome. And so I do think that it is interesting when people have such strong opinions on other people's content. They clearly didn't learn the, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I don't really understand that mentality, I suppose. And being on the platforms and being on and having people who will just say nasty things for the sake of nasty things hasn't helped me with that understanding. It doesn't affect me deeply. I know there are a lot of people who are like, cry. For me, I just don't empathize with it. I don't understand it, and I'm trying to understand it, but maybe it's just trying to make the logic out of the illogical, you know? So it's just interesting. It's interesting. I always look at it like, why have you wasted your energy with this? Like, I just want to know. It's a genuine curiosity. Anyway, I digress. I am wasting my energy on it myself, I suppose. Piff My Hero Academia, you mean Boku no Hero, the most crap anime ever made. I didn't know people didn't like it. I thought there was a lot of love for it. Hi Rogan, hi Alex. Don't visit, just don't do that to yourself. Well, I know that they had the UK Games Expo, is that what it's called? Anyway, they have a convention on it at the moment. I did think about going to it this weekend, and then I went, I won't worry about it. But Cadbury World's there. That's like the closest to Wonka World that I can get. Albertans are always a little bit more prime than soft people from Saskatchewan. You have better creators in Alberta. That's cute. My Hero Vigilante, is the offshoot series from Academia. Gotcha. And then Popstep is a secondary main character. She's an overwhelming social media star that people love, and she only ever gets in the way when they deal with villains. Okay. Thank you, Alfred. I do appreciate it. And that's the thing, yeah. I just keep doing me, and then maybe at some point I'll figure it out. It's been 5 years and I still haven't figured it out, but maybe one day. It's taken me this long to get onto YouTube, and so, we're always learning something. I'm not Irish, no Irish in my blood. Only reading the series because I can't find anything else worth a read right now. Well, hopefully you can find some entertainment out of it. Thank you, Swiggly. It's really good to have you back here. My friend said that there's a 10 out of 10 baddie here. Go and say hi. So hi. Well, I don't want to point them out, but the 10 out of 10 baddie, And it sounds like you're getting a reputation for yourself. Similar to classes getting too large, like with student population. Yeah, and so I like being. I think that's actually a good comparison. I know I give off teacher vibes, but I don't. I feel like imposter syndrome when I call myself a teacher. I like to consider myself a student rather than a teacher. But in a small class, the teacher is able to interact with the students. They can ask questions. Whereas when it gets too large, then that teacher becomes a lecturer, right? And so perhaps there is something to be said about that in live stream content as well. Is in these smaller communities, there is still interaction, we can bounce off one another. And that's what I really enjoy. I love that interaction. Whereas if you look at the top tiny percentage of quote unquote successful streamers, the larger streamers, it is a more like a lecture, less interaction. Of course, they can pick up a comment here and there, but it's not as personalized or individualized, I suppose. Or alternatively, they're creating gaming content where you can like like watching sports live. You can watch that live. And it doesn't necessarily have to be interactive, but you can get excited over what is going on. And that's where some of that interaction and a different type of community is happening, where it's this shared experience that people are having, like at a sports venue, rather than like a classroom. And I think that we're a lot more like a classroom here. Hi, Lucas. Positive vibes. Thank you. Thank you. I just tell myself they're 12 years old and it makes me feel better. But that's the thing is, I know for some people it makes them feel better, but for me, I'm like, if you're so young, we must break this cycle before it's too late and you become a nasty 50-year-old, you know, because that's the thing is we gotta help shape those young minds so that they don't become nasty 20, 30, 40-year-olds. It's just noise, you reckon? Like flies buzzing around? Yeah, okay. Maybe less than human in a way. Hated Deco so much. Oh, yeah, so I haven't watched it, so I can't weigh in. I got like the easiest job washing dishes. Hell yeah! In a machine, even. Badass. Shots fired at buzzing fly. Oopsies. Call myself an artist. I like that. Hotbar teacher? No, not British. I'm a New Zealander, but I live in the UK. Okay, anything else I want to add? Nope, I think that's it. I've gone on for a lot longer before playing games, so we're going to wrap up over on the YouTube side of things. If you guys are watching on YouTube and you want to check out some games, come on over to Twitch. Or alternatively, you can watch on the XClem Plays YouTube channel, but I do not have live chat enabled over there. But you're welcome to come join. We're playing some Red Dead Redemption 2. Otherwise, I will be back live tomorrow, but much earlier in my day. I usually stream in the mornings on a Sunday. So if you guys want to hang out, I will be live. Otherwise, Discord is the best place to stay up to date if you want to see what the weekly schedule is. I'm probably going to do a little bit of an overhaul this week now that the marathon is coming to a close. But in general, thanks for hanging out. I really enjoyed today. It was nice and chill, and I'm feeling positive. Sometimes after these longer yap sessions, I feel exhausted, but I feel good. Oh, I would love to. The thing is, I do love learning, and as I've said, and so I do think that I would suit teacher or tutor vibes, but again, small class. I do hate you, exactly, Swiggly. No. We just hate the YouTube channel. I tease. We're just keeping the gaming content separate. So like I said, if you want to watch some games, Twitch or XCOM Plays is the place to go. Aw, that's cute, Schmick. Thank you. That's very cute. Anyway, so thanks again, YouTube. You've been great. You actually have been good today. So thank you for being good. You get a gold star today. Well done. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you get up to. Maybe we'll see you back here tomorrow. If not, we'll see you if we see you when we see you. Yeah, we're just wrapping up Havoc. So if you want to watch some games, you can come over to Twitch. Same username, xClementine. But yeah, I'm gatekeeping my gamer content. But you can watch the VOD if you like. Anyway, Havoc, sorry to hear it. Enjoy your weekend. But we are migrating. Thanks again, YouTube. Bye.